LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, it doesn't matter.
You so know that. It does not matter who the host is. It matters who the listeners are. Anyways, how are you doing on this fantastic Monday? Yes, it is all important, crucial Monday because there's a couple of things. Number one, did you survive the Thanksgiving weekend? That's going to be the number one thing. And number two, well, it's Cyber Monday today, so did you already get up and start attacking all the stuff that you wanted to get and go, well, I need to order this for my friend, my loved one, and all this? Consumerism at its finest. Cyber Monday, that's exactly what it's about. Anyways, today's Monday, November the 28th of 2022, day 332 of the year, and only 33 days left to go. You know, when you start going through the sequence of events of us counting this down every single day, it is like the countdown to extinction. Anyways, we are broadcasting live, yes, live from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida, and coming across the multiverse known as Safety FM. And we are hanging out with our friends and colleagues at that other place that we do stuff at. That's for sure what we have going on, because if not, what the hell else would we be doing? Radio Big. Yes, we are hanging out with our friends at Radio Big. So listen, I don't know if you know this yet, but you can hang out here or there or anywhere else. We are streaming live. Yes, streaming live on iHeartRadio. Yes, all you have to do is go into the streaming radio section there. Not the podcast. Not the podcast. We are talking about streaming live on iHeartRadio. We're also streaming on the Safety FM app. We're streaming on the Radio Big app, and we're just streaming across the plano there, the plano, in regards to multiple factions of being able to do so. We're also hanging out on social media. Well, on some social media, not all social media, just to be on the safe side. So here's how we do it. If you want to hang out on the social media aspect, or just go to the website. If you go to the website, it's a real simple process. All you have to do is go to Safety FM or Radio Big, one or the other, doesn't matter, and click on the section that says Visual Radio. That will get you here into the video aspect if you want to torture yourself with that. Or you can go to the social media aspect and do it there. We're on some, not all, like I like to explain. The other side there is that if you want to interact with us, you just go to Call In Radio. Yes, that's Call In Radio. That will get you moving and grooving inside of all that stuff. Anyways, enough of that nonsense. Let's talk about what's important to you, and that's more than likely going to be what was trending over the weekend.
Here is what was trending. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, talking about the trends of ends. Saturday was Small Business Saturday, so there you go. That was trending on Saturday because you have the Black Friday where everybody goes to kind of the major retailers, and then Saturday becomes Small Business Saturday. Also, Irene Cara was trending on Saturday after news broke of her passing. Twitter was full of conspiracy theories about her death, most of them questioning whether it was due to COVID-19 vaccine. I don't know why that came about, but it did. Anyway, Sunday was Turtle Adoption Day. I don't know of anybody who's adopted a turtle. Do you? I mean, don't get me wrong. It's kind of a cool perspective, it sounds like, in regards of doing it. But have you ever, adopted a turtle? Because that just seems like something interesting to do overall. Masks was trending over the weekend after the bombshell news report stated that Dr. Fauci emailed a friend on February of 2020 saying the masks were ineffective. On the topic of several Twitter users pointed out that a few people wear masks now that they aren't being enforced. Does that mean that most of those who wore them were coerced into doing so? I don't know. I will have to tell you, I think that, the mask thing, depending on the mask that you had, I think it really plays a big factor. I had a pretty big, significant mask that really repelled a lot of stuff. And then when I started going to the paper mask, I seemed to get sicker quicker. It's just the way that it seemed. But then again, I was locked up when I was trying to wear the other Gigantor mask. So maybe that's another thing to think about. What else was going around over the weekend? Twitter users mocked actress Alyssa Milano over the weekend as she tweeted about giving back her Tesla and buying a VW EV. We can talk more about this. Why would this be a tweet? I mean, I'm kind of confused on this. I get so confused on some of the stuff that happens inside of the world sometimes. I mean, if you bought a Tesla, good for you. If you gave it back, good for you. But why is this something that you need to share with the world to know? Like, do you go around telling people what kind of car you drive? I mean, seriously, I'm just asking the question. Now, I sometimes get excited about some vehicles, but I don't go around sharing what I drive. I think that's kind of a weird. Weirdy. Anyways, let's get into some important parts because that's probably what you want to know about. So if you're new here, let's talk about it. We talk about safety in the news and safety. That's kind of the way that the world goes inside of our end. On the other side there, what we'll do is we'll bring in some professional broadcasters. They'll tell us about what the hell is going on inside of the world. And then we will come back, meaning moi, and I will talk about some of the things that are going on this end. And when I say professional broadcasters, I mean true pros that know what the hell they're doing, because I sit here and go, how am I in the mix of things? Because why are you listening to me? I have no clue. I'm just lost in a wilderness of pain. That's what it seems like half the time as we are doing this stuff. Anyways, I hope you really did have an enjoyable Thanksgiving, because it's important to get to hang out with friends and families and do the things that you do. And if you opted not to do any of that, well, I hope you enjoyed yourself too, because that's important. I hope you were thankful regardless of what you were doing, because that's going to be an important aspect of what we are talking about. Anyways, with that being said, I think we need to bring in the pro broadcasters. Let them tell us about what the hell is going on inside of the world of the news.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
Well, I guess we have no news. What the hell is going on over here? You know, I love when the system goes out and says, we ain't interacting. That's kind of a fun one. So let's take a look at what's going on inside of the world of the news, because, I will tell you, this is definitely a first where the news did not trigger off in time. But I guess those things happen. Let's do this again. Let's see if the system, I love live radio, is going to let us do our thing. Let's do the thing again.
NBC News Radio, I'm Michael Kastner. Thanksgiving holiday travelers are still trying to make it back home after thousands of flight delays and numerous cancellations nationwide because of the weather. About 1/4 of the flights at New York City's major airports were disrupted because of the weather yesterday, one of the busiest travel days of the year. Public health experts are predicting a surge in respiratory illnesses during the holidays as families and friends gather indoors to celebrate.
We haven't been getting a lot of influenza and a lot of RSV for the past 2 years, and that might make the overall population a little more susceptible. So that might increase the number of people getting infected in this holiday season.
University of California at San Diego Chief of Infectious Disease, Dr. Davey Smith, is urging people to avoid close contact with people or large gatherings when sick. Health officials want to remind people to take precautions and wear good quality masks when in close contact to others. Wash your hands thoroughly and often, and keep your distance from those who are sick while cleaning commonly touched surfaces. COVID and flu vaccines are widely available at pharmacies, medical centers, and clinics. Both vaccines can be given during the same visit. The suspect in the mass shooting at a Buffalo supermarket is expected to plead guilty to state charges today. Trey Thomas reports.
The male teen accused of killing 10 black people in May is due in an Erie County court. Authorities say it was a racially motivated attack. The initial hearing was canceled earlier this month because of recent snowstorms in the area. The suspect is facing a 25-count indictment that includes 10 counts of murder. He's also facing federal charges.
Lean on me.
Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, and now Cyber Monday. But don't forget about Giving Tuesday. Now in its 10th year, Giving Tuesday is meant to encourage people to give to their favorite charities, whether it's money or through volunteer work. More information is available online at givingtuesday.org. Michael Kastner, NBC News Radio.
You are listening to something magical. You're listening to the Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. Large-scale protests across China against COVID-19 restrictions have continued for a fourth day. Iran's football federations complained to FIFA about the removal of the Islamic Republic emblem from its flag on US social media posts. The armed forces could be brought in to help the UK's health service during upcoming strikes, and former French President Nicolas Sarkozy's launched an appeal against a conviction for influence peddling.
More sarcasm than a Mortal Kombat beatdown. Rated R Safety Show.
A pilot and a passenger have been rescued in Maryland after their small plane crashed into a power line tower on Sunday. Chief Scott Goldstein with the Montgomery County Police Department talked to reporters about the rescue.
Both patients have been transported from the scene to local area trauma centers with serious injuries. There is a hypothermia issue as well, but there's also orthopedic and trauma injuries from the crash.
The plane could be seen stuck in the power lines and dangling about 100 feet above the ground. The incident caused widespread power outages for thousands of people in the area. One Republican congressman says there will be more accountability under a GOP-led House when it comes to aid for Ukraine. Appearing on ABC's This Week, Texas's Michael McCaul echoed House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy's promise not to write the war-torn country a blank check. There are still no suspects in the unsolved stabbing deaths of 4 Idaho college students earlier this month. University of Idaho senior Megan Lawley talks about returning to campus with a murderer still on the loose.
We've sort of made plans to stick together, I guess, do things together, go grocery shopping together, maybe even staying together with those of us that would like some extra roommates during this time.
All 4 victims were found dead at a home not far from the University of Idaho. Dozens of local, state, and federal investigators are working the case, calling what happened a targeted attack. Former President Trump is facing criticism after hosting rapper Kanye West and white nationalist Nick Fuentes at his Mar-a-Lago resort this week. Kelly O'Donnell reports he has since tried to distance himself from the controversial figures.
That is not good enough for Trump friend David Friedman, who served as ambassador to Israel. You are better than this. Even a social visit from an anti-Semite like Kanye West and human scum like Nick Fuentes is unacceptable.
Michael Kastner, NBC News Radio.
This show is almost as enjoyable as hearing the sound of the toilet flush. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Let's start using cutting-edge warp speed 5G technology with your cell phone. Let me tell you about my friends at mobilemobile.io. They have an ultra-fast 4G LTE and 5G network that covers 99% of Americans. So they've got you covered everywhere. Think about it for a moment. You have the opportunity to take a test drive for 10 days with unlimited talk, text, and premium data. What is premium data? Premium data is an allotment of a cellular data that you receive from a higher priority on the network. You won't get throttled like you will with some of those, non-brand service providers. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to mobilemobile.io. That's mobilemobile.io to start your 10-day free trial.
Hello. Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
So, do you feel like you're missing out on what everyone is starting to do now, that live streaming thing, and you don't know where to start or what to do? I have the resource and the information to provide to you in regards on how you can stream onto 40 social media platforms all at one time. Yes, that's 40 social media platforms all at one time. All you'll need to do is go to safetyfm.com/1. That's safetyfm.com/1. That's ONE. So just in case, and you'll be able to start live streaming just like you're hearing people starting to do right now, up to 40 social media platforms.
Tearing the ass out of you like gas station sushi.
Here is another bit for our competitors to copy. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so there you go. 18 minutes past the top of the hour as you and I are hanging out on this lovely Monday. Yes, it's a lovely Monday as we're getting to do all the fun stuff that we get to do around here, because that's important as we are talking. Anyways, let's get into the hit list, because that is important as we are moving and grooving and doing all of the fun stuff that we get to do. So let's talk about this. Chinese protesters are bravely taking to the streets against the Communist Party Brutal Zero COVID policy and relentless, endless totalitarian lockdowns in what is being called the White Paper Revolution. In some areas, protesters silently hold blank pieces of paper in protest to China's totalitarian speech laws. So there you go. Last week, more than 40 people died in an apartment fire in that area because they couldn't open the doors and had it sealed shut by the police over the fear of the spread of COVID. That tragedy spurred a revolt, which only appears to be growing as the country logs a record number of new COVID infections. But the frustration extends beyond anger, and Total Control Police State says it has solidified there since the early 2020s. One video shows the demonstrators apparently chanting, "We want freedom, not virus checks. We want democracy, not dictatorship," and take down the CCP. In the symbolism protest, crowds gathered in the square on Sunday where they were, ambushed by the police. Chants included, "We want freedom, equality, democracy, and rule of law." Police have at times engaged with the particularity of the vocal protesters. In one case, beating a man who refused to undergo a COVID check. BBC journalist Edward Lawrence has called the video getting tackled by detained by police as he shouted at the colleagues to call the consulate. Expect this story to develop with international eyes watching in the coming days and weeks to keep a very careful eye on how, it is responded to by the United States, because I think that that's going to be important as we are having this conversation. What do you think about all this? Is that how you go about in silencing a crowd? Because it definitely makes it sound like something entirely different. In some other news, amid the FTX bankruptcy documents revealing that the bankrupt crypto company founded by Sam Bankman-Fried also invested $11.5 million in small bank in Washington state. The bank, called Farmington State Bank, had just 3 employees working at only one location before the investment. And the New York Times reports that the 26th smallest bank in the country didn't offer online banking or credit cards. though it may make agriculture loans. Before the 2022 investment, the bank net worth was $5.7 million. Now the same bank is operating under a new name, Moonstone Bank, and jumped from just $10 million in deposits to over $80 million worth, which belongs to, just 4 unidentified accounts. Worth asking, was the investments to help hide criminal financial mismanagement, or was it just part of a broader business strategy for FTX? I don't know. It's a good question. Meanwhile, lawyers for the Miami-Dade County have asked a judge to end the 19-year-old naming rights deal that FTX has on the arena where the Miami Heat plays. A hearing is set to go forth in December 16th about that. So it's interesting on how that's going to work. Because is it paid in full? That's the question. So if FTX already paid for it, and I know there's going to be some controversy there, we'll see what happens. And I know that there's a bus company that has recently asked if the Miami Heat would be willing to take a gander. They're putting their name on there. I mean, you can look up the bus company because I probably shouldn't talk about it here. That's one of those things, if you know what I'm saying. So anyways, let's continue talking. Last week, a museum in Germany reported the theft of a collection of ancient rare coins. New details suggest that the heist was a professional job and that the crooks were in and out in just 9 minutes. The reports have also the makings of the heist flick. They cut the cables of the telecommunication hub near the museum to knock out the communication before prying open the door, smashing the display cabinets, and fleeing the scene. Museum officials say that the coin collection is worth about $1.6 million, but if they're melted down, it could be just worth about $250,000, and they destroy the important historical artifacts. I mean, I don't know. I look at this and I go, this is kind of a rough one, if you know what I'm saying. And the reason that I say that is because if you try to sell these, I think they might stick out like sore thumbs, and people might go, well, we kind of know where you stole them from, if you kind of give it a thought that way.
Who truly cares what this guy has to say? Who gives a shit? Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, take a listen to this. The Artemis 1 mission has officially broken the record for the rocket designed to carry humans flying the furthest distance from Earth. On Friday, the spacecraft entered around the moon. Later today, the long, slow orbit will swing back towards the moon and Earth. Operations to return to the spacecraft home will begin later this week. By the way, don't expect the Artemis mission to evolve or what else? To iterate as quickly as the space mission of the 1950s or the 1960s. The next mission, which will be on the crew of the board, is not set to occur, you ready for this, until 2024. Which will take humans on a similar trip around the moon, followed by the boots on a lunar surface in 2025 or 2026, because I am sure it will vary depending on who you talk to and, who's running the country at that time. Seriously. I mean, I'm sure that's going to play a factor into it. Take a listen to this. The Wall Street Journal reports that there is an increasing number of companies that are doing away with arbitrary college education requirements while recruiting new hires. Job postings that requires at least a bachelor's degree fell from 46% in January of 2019 to 41% last month. Major companies are easing higher education requirements, including Google parent company Alphabet, Delta Airlines, and IBM. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about college degrees? How do you feel about degrees in general? I mean, or documents. Do you think experience outweighs the actual documentation? Because that sometimes becomes a conversation in regard to that. I'm kind of in that weird spot that I have an opinion on how it should work when it comes to degrees and certain things. But some people probably think that I lean one way over the other. But I have a way that I think about these things. And they could be important. They could not be important. It just depends on what you're trying to do. I look at it this way. I have a few degrees in some things that are interesting. And at no point did I really think that they would all factor into each other one way or another. So maybe it's time to really give it some consideration on what the hell you're looking for. Maybe that's the way to take a look at it. Anyways, with that being said, I think it's time to bring in some John Smalls and let him tell us about what the hell is going on inside of the world of the market.
Minute for Monday, November 28th, 2022. Equity markets ended the week on solid footing, but there is a risk on the horizon. This week brings the 1st of December and the next round of important economic data. Not only is the market looking for the NFP and other labor data, but the November read of the PCE price index is due out as well. The index is expected to show an increase in inflation, but at a slower rate than before, which will be taken as good news by the market. Looking forward, the pace of inflation is still high enough to warrant additional FOMC interest rate hikes, and that is having an impact on the outlook for earnings. It is the outlook for earnings that will keep the S&P 500 inside of its new range, if not moving lower. The consensus estimate for Q4 2022 is already in negative territory, and the outlook for the first half of 2023 is not far behind it. At the rate the estimates are falling, the market should expect to see Q4 earnings growth in the range of negative 4% or less by the time the next reporting season is done. You can get the inside track at marketbeatminute.com.
Okay, thank you, John Smalls, for the information on what the hell is going on out there, because it always is important to talk about. Here's what I was able to find. The Dow added about 152 points to close at 34,347 points on Friday. The S&P slipped just 1 point to close at 4,026, and the NASDAQ lost about 58 points to close at 11,226. West Texas Intermediate dipped about to under $80, closing at $76 on Friday, but Brent crude closed at $83. The national average price of a gallon of gas was $3.56 on Sunday. Bitcoin added about $115 by the day on Sunday evening, trading just over 16,500. Okay, so here's the little torture chamber that I get to mention right now. There was 3,955 flights delayed within, into, and out of the United States on Sunday, and about 102 cancellations. I'll put it to you this way. I don't live far from the Orlando International Airport, and I went up there on, what day was it? I went up there on Wednesday. I went up there on Wednesday, and I went up there on Thursday of last week. Wednesday, it was saying that the parking garage were full. That's what it said. And then on Thursday, it says all parking garages are full to go to the economy parking lot that was on the south side of the actual airport because they could not take any more cars in. That's how packed and busy the travel section was. And then come Thursday and Friday, people were talking about how backed up the lines were on how the distance of that they went inside of the airport. And that was including if you had TSA pre-check. So there you go. I guess that's the best advertisement for Clear of all time, if you really take a look at it. Anyways, let's talk about what happened over the weekend in the box office. Now, keep in mind, it was a 4-day weekend, so it's going to change a little bit. So, The Chosen Season 3 episode, yes, 1 and 2, weighed $1.8 million. So, the number 10. That fell from the number 3 spot. Take Me to Paradise was at $2.3 million, fell from the number 5 spot. Bones and Owl was at $2.6 million at number 8. And number 7 was Flemings at $2.7 million. At number 6 was Black Adams with $3.9 million. At number 5 was The Menu with $6.2 million. At number 4 was $7.2 million with The Devotion. At number 3 was Glass Onions, a Knives Out mystery, $11.2 million. And number 2, at $14.4 million, they're also calling this the biggest Disney flop next to Treasure Planet, was Strange World with $14.4 million. And at the number 1 spot was Wakanda Forever at $54 million. So there you go. Some stuff to take a look at if we are taking a look around. So there you go. What do you think? Did you go to the movies over the weekend? I'm just kind of curious because I will tell you, I used to be a big fan of going to the movies during that time. But I got to the portion that I stopped going to the movies during the holidays, but it was something that I did for a long period of time before I started canceling it and then going from there. Take a listen to this. A vigil was held over the weekend in honor of the late San Francisco Mayor George Moscone and Supervisor Harvey Milk. Both political leaders were assassinated by former Supervisor Dan White in 1978. Milk is one of the country's first openly gay elected officials. Carol Ruth Silver, a former supervisor with Harvey Milk, told NBC Bay Area that the Sunday vigil, she is concerned about the violence still happening against the LGBT community.
It's just difficult to understand how, with all the progress that's been made since those days.
So a lot of stuff still going on in that side of that subject, that is for sure. Anyways, a Bronx mother is being charged with the murder or death of her 2 young children. Scott Pringle has more information.
Police say 22-year-old Damone Fleming is accused of killing her 3-year-old son, Deshaun Fleming, and her 11-month-old Octavius Fleming, Canada. The boys were found dead in a bathtub with multiple stab wounds in a family shelter Saturday evening. This is in the Mount Hope section of the Bronx. The boy's father made the discovery. He apparently had an argument with Fleming and had slept in the car the night before. Now, neighbors reportedly say the boy's mother has shown signs of mental health issues. Scott Pringle, NBC News Radio, New York.
Terrible story. Terrible thing to hear of that actually going on. Continuing going into New York, a man is dead after being shot outside of a public housing in Manhattan last night. Jennifer Polsoni has more info.
Cops say the 44-year-old man was gunned down in front of the Fulton houses on West 17th Street in Chelsea around 9:30 p.m. He was shot in the head, taken to Bellevue Hospital where he later died. A gun reportedly recovered on the sidewalk near him. At the scene, no arrests have been made. Jennifer Polsoni, NBC News Radio, New York.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer, for that information right there. Take a listen to this, still coming out of New York. Queens, New York says travelers for Thanksgiving holiday are still trying to get back home after flight delays and cancellations nationwide because of the weather. Scott Pringle reports.
One of the busiest air travel days of the year. Dozens of flights canceled and some 2,500 flights were delayed, mostly because of the weather. LaGuardia Airport led the nation with delays, and about 1/4 of the flights out of New York City's area airports were disrupted yesterday. These folks a bit frustrated after flying into Newark Airport.
Going into it expecting to wait an hour and a half and then having to wait 5.5 is, not how I planned my day.
In Charlotte, first it was raining, and so we had an hour and a half delay, but we were sitting on the runway.
Scott Pringle, NBC News Radio, New York.
Oh, that's the worst, sitting on the runway because you can't go to the bathroom or anything like that because they're like, we're in an active taxiway. Terrible story. I know.
Here is our main story on the Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so let's start talking about it because we are getting closer and closer towards the end of the year. I mean, maybe that's not really the reason to talk about this, but maybe it's the reason to talk about it in regards of what is going on inside of the world. And, we hear all the time about the drive to zero and how great it would be if we have 0 accidents, 0 incidents, and all of that kind of fun stuff. And I have to tell you, I was sitting around thinking about this and going, what if we actually did it the opposite way? What if instead of actually having the drive to zero, we just had 0 safety? And think about that. If we just had 0 safety, it almost seems as intelligent as the drive to zero. And I know some people are going to be like, what? Yes, think about that for a moment. Because it makes no sense to have the drive to zero. So if in return, every time that somebody tells you about the drive to zero, we just said, hey, let's just have 0 safety because we would probably have a better opportunity on doing stuff. Wouldn't that just be the solution to the whole problem? Think about it. Think about how that would work. You kind of just have people just, you have a lot of cooks inside of the kitchen just running around doing whatever the hell they want. And then you don't have to worry about stuff. But you see, it almost takes an extreme example to make logic and sense of the other side. And I don't understand to this day on why 0 safety became such a big deal. And I'm talking about the drive to 0. Because as I tell you, let's have 0 safety, even though you probably believe to some extent you've worked at a company or currently work at a company that has 0 safety. It's asinine as you say that. It's silly as you say that of why would you want to be in a workplace that has 0 safety? And I'm not talking about OSHA. I'm not talking about standards. I'm just talking about having no safety at all. But for some reason, somebody said, let's put logic into things and do the drive to 0 because that makes sense. And I will always reference the same point that I have heard and I've talked about and referenced about 1,000 times on this show. What happens after the first incident? Because that means automatically that your program is a failure. Think about it. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And you can say, well, that's kind of harsh and mean and crude and rude, but it's truthful. The moment you have an incident in a zero safety program, you have failed. The same way if you did it on the reverse aspect. If you decide to have zero safety, the moment that somebody's safe, well, shit, you screwed everything up. It's kind of funny as you look at this and hear this and go, you have off the rocker, you might have had too much turkey over the weekend. On going, how silly that sounds. It is the exact same thing in reverse. It's like the sign of the times going forward in reverse. Think about that for a moment. Think about it on how that actually works. We do a lot of the stuff that we do in reverse engineering. We take a look at, oh, this has been your failure rates of the things that have occurred. I can give you predictions now on what's going to occur. So, I mean, I'm getting to the point now that I'm starting to believe that if you can do so many predictions, I want somebody to take all the lottery numbers and give me some predictions on who the hell's going to win and what number sequence is going to win before it actually happens. It's just getting to the point that we need to be a little bit more realistic on what we're looking for. If your drive to zero is so important, let's talk about doing zero safety. I think that would be something that would really make your organization think differently. Think about that.
Oops! What did he just say?
We at Safety FM don't always agree with the viewpoints of our hosts and guests.
Now back to real safety talk on Safety FM.
Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the home of real safety talk.
You are listening to Safety FM. We'll be right back.
Do you have a claim and not sure where to turn? Coastal Claim Consultants are professionally licensed and bonded public insurance adjusters employed exclusively by you, the policyholder, to represent you after sustaining an insured loss. They assist policyholders in all aspects of processing the claim, working closely with the insured to provide the most equitable and timely settlement possible. They will provide you with comprehensive service, anything from inspecting the loss site, analyzing damages, compiling claim support data, reviewing applicable coverages, assessing replacement costs of damages, and negotiating your settlement. The adjusters at Coastal Claim Consultants will evaluate your claim for no upfront cost whatsoever. Coastal Claim Consultants' fee is based on contingency contracts and are paid when the insurance company sends you a check and it's in your possession. Coastal Claim Consultants are licensed to assist you in the following states: Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, and South Carolina. For more information, go to coastal-cc.com. That's coastal-cc.com. For more information, lighting the way to recovery. Coastal Claim Consultants.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. I know you won't, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen.
Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Have you ever wanted to start live streaming and were not sure how to do it? You can start live streaming up to 40 social media platforms all at one time for as little as nada. It's going to cost you your time. That is what it's going to cost. You can pre-record, you can live stream, you can do a multitude of things. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to safetyfm.com/one. That's safetyfm.com, ONE.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hacked? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
Warning. Listening to other radio stations could cause testicle shrinkage.
I'm talking truth.
Okay, you are still listening to the Rated R Safety Show. It is currently 42 minutes past the top of the hour. This song right here is called Wide Awake. This is by Ronit. Song's readily available on Spotify and iTunes. Yeah, it's just like living in a dream. It's like a cinematic type of song as we're going through it. You know, cinematic electronica and pop. You can't mess that up. So there you go. Thanks to Ronit for allowing us to play this here on the Rated R Safety Show. I have to tell you, it has some Lana Del Rey vibes going on. Anyways, if you want to listen to some more music, at the top of the hour, I will be going over exclusively to RadioBig.fm. You know, that you could hear that streaming on the iHeartRadio app. And then we can do some stuff over there. That's for sure. Anyways, thanks to Ronit for allowing us to play this here. Anyways, let's get into some more stuff. It is 43 minutes past the top of the hour. You are still hanging and banging with me on this lovely Monday, Cyber Monday. Hopefully, you know, you're cybering away as you're doing the stuff to get all the things that you want to give away. Yeah, you know, all that kind of fun stuff. Anyway, so let's get into it. Let me tell you about the most important thing that I will tell you at any particular point in our lifetime, and that's my friends at 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. They can help prevent suicide. The Lifeline provides 24/7 free and confidential support for people in distress, prevention, and crisis resources for you and your loved ones, and best practices for professionals in the United States. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to 988lifeline.org. That's 988lifeline.org. You can text the word TALK to 988 or just call 988 to find out more information. All kinds of great info on the website for sure. Just go take a looky in regards to what's going on. You never know on when this information can be important for you or a loved one. Anyways, let's talk real quick about the season because it is time to talk about the taste of Christmas. It's no wonder that we look forward to the holidays with much anticipation. With them come a number of special moments that we can just, that we don't get to enjoy at other times of the year. Among them is the chance to get together with loved ones, beautiful decorations, and music to celebrate the season, gifts, and food, of course. According to a survey, cinnamon is the top holiday season flavor. Yeah, think about that for a moment. The one poll survey of Americans found that both kids and adults named cinnamon as the top taste to evoke the feeling of the holiday nostalgia and comfort, with 58% respondents putting it at the top of their list. Cinnamon was also followed by pumpkin with 54%, peppermint at 52%, cocoa at 47%, and 39% said nutmeg. Hey now, when it comes to the most cherished holiday tradition, decorating a Christmas tree came at the top at 43%. Second was seeing friends and family at 40%. Followed by decorating the home at 29%, and watching holiday movies at 26%, and eating holiday meals at 25%. Food fights, what they just my family. Okay, I guess that's the thing. And what odd or offbeat holiday tradition does your family participate in? I'm just asking the question. I will tell you, I am not a fan of cinnamon. I mean, it is not my defaulto in going into stuff, but I guess that explains why I tie Christmas into the flavor.
More sarcasm than a Mortal Kombat beatdown. Rated R Safety Show.
So I have to tell you, as Elon Musk has acquired Twitter, it's almost gotten to the point that I feel like I need to give you an Elon update from ever so frequently because we talk about the man so much in the news now. So let's go ahead and do that. Twitter CEO Elon Musk said in a tweet on Twitter that he will launch its delayed verified service this week, which has different color checks depending on the type of account that you have. The plan is for there will to be a gold check for companies, a gray check for government accounts, and the existing blue ones for individuals, whether they are celebrities or not. This comes after he was forced to pause the $8 a month Twitter Blue service, which allowed anyone to pay for the subscription for the blue verification tick after others abuse the system by impersonating brands and famous people. Musk said that all verified accounts will be manually authenticated before the check is activated on Friday. If Twitter still exists by then, I mean, maybe that's something else to think about as we are talking. Anyways, Elon Musk has a plan. If Apple decides to boot Twitter off the App Store, he'll simply create his own smartphone. Musk wrote on Friday that on a tweet that he would make an alternative to an alternative phone to compete with Apple iPhone if the tech giant ends up blocking Twitter from its powerful App Store. Musk's comments come after Phil Schiller, an Apple exec who responsible for leading the App Store, deleted his Twitter account. And Yoel Roth, former head of trust and safety at Twitter, said to the New York Times columnist that the social media giants risk being expelled by Apple and Google app stores if they fail to adhere to the guidelines with regards of content moderation. The ePhone, maybe that's the next thing. But here's the thing. I mean, I don't know if this is kind of one of these things that is new information. And let me explain why. If you go looking on YouTube, which apparently I spend a lot of time doing, you will see that Tesla, Elon, or whatever the hell you want to reference it to in particular, well, they've already been working on a phone for some time, and it's pretty fancy. It's pretty fancy, and you can find some images on there of what exactly is going on. Anyways, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about some good news for a moment. A man who is unearthed a platinum and diamond ring worth $40,000 buried at a beach in Florida has returned it safely to the owners. Joseph Cook found the ring while using a metal detector at Hammock Beach in St. Augustine. He immediately posted a video of him unearthing it on social media channels and called for local jewelry stores looking for people who may have lost the ring. He says that he ended up FaceTiming with the couple from Jacksonville who had lost a similar ring when his wife said, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." And then she started crying. Joseph met up with the ring owners and returned the piece, making them feel really good. He figures that he has now returned about $60,000 worth of found items to their owners this year, and he plans to keep looking. After all, karma always is good. Every time I return an item, I find something better. So there you go. Good for him. Good for him. I mean, it's an interesting one, that's for sure. Would you return a $40,000 ring that you found? I mean, it's kind of a weird thing because it's like, how do you have the proof that it belonged to the people? I mean, I don't know. It's just something to think about. I know it's the decay. It's the decay that I talk about all the time.
Another pitfall of our society. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, currently 50 minutes past the top of the hour. Japan cleaned up on and off the field on the World Cup in Qatar on Wednesday after the national team delivered a thrilling 2-1 upset victory over Germany. Japanese fans continue the tradition by staying clean up all the trash at the stadium before leaving to celebrate the win. They were also applauded for their thoughtfulness, as they could be seen roaming the scenes of garbage bags to pick up the garbage that accumulated during the match. Numerous videos showing the considerate gesture were posted on social media, including one from the soccer governing body FIFA with the caption, tidying up after the greatest FIFA World Cup wins. Huge respect for these Japanese fans. By the way, Japanese fans were sure to clean up whether their team wins or loses. It sure beats turning over buses and torching cop cars. Hey, I'm just throwing that out there because that does tend to happen in some areas. Anyways, with that being said, I think it's time for the Motivation Minute. So let's go ahead and bring in some John Small.
The Motivation Minute is courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. Today's quote was submitted by Daniel. Mark Cuban said, "It doesn't matter how many times you have failed, you only have to be right once." I like that quote, but try telling that to a manager. In many fields, it really does only take one big success to be considered successful. If you try and fail, you only really fail if you quit trying. Edison failed 10,000 times in his pursuit to create an incandescent light bulb. But there was this moment, somewhere around the 10,000th try, where it just finally worked. I consider myself devoted to getting things done, but I'm not sure if I would have hung in there 10,000 times. I'm glad the Edison team did, and I hope you can too. This has been today's Motivation Minute, courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. They're known for insurance quotes. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Your Wellness Minute is brought to you by AlessaMorgan.com. During exercise, our muscles can produce BDNF, improving learning and memory and supporting neurogenesis. However, exercise also acts as an antidepressant by eliminating a neurotoxin. Put another way, not only does exercise cause our skeletal muscle to produce beneficial compounds, it also causes it to detoxify the harmful ones. Vigorous exercise encourages muscles to act like a sponge and take up kynurenine, preventing its conversion to a neurotoxic agent that has been implicated in many mental disorders, including depression. There is overwhelming evidence that exercise helps with depression. A meta-analysis of 25 randomized controlled trials found that exercise reduced depressive symptoms, and this effect was particularly strong for moderate to vigorous intensity aerobic exercise. For more information, check out AlessaMorgan.com.
They're good. They're very funny.
They're hilarious. They just be whoever they want to be.
It's just really funny.
Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so let's talk about some more stuff. It is 53 minutes past the top of the hour as we are still hanging out on this lovely, lovely, lovely Monday. I mean, what other day did you think it was? That is for sure. So let's take a look around if we have some other things that we can talk about, because I think it's going to be, well, let's talk about this one. It's not a great news story, but we'll talk about it anyways. In Santa Paula, California, classes at Santa Paula High School are canceled today and tomorrow after a fire destroys its historic gymnasium. Daniel Martindale reports.
Flames ripped through the school's 1930s-era gym early Sunday morning. The intensity of the fire caused one of the 84-year-old building's walls to collapse. No one was hurt, but people who live nearby were evacuated because of a power outage. Investigators are working to determine the cause of the fire. I'm Daniel Martindale.
Okay, thank you, Daniel Martindale, for the information right there. Take a listen to this real quick. There are some flight delays and cancellation this morning as folks head to the airport after the end of the long holiday weekend and the work week begins. Scott Keys of Scott Cheap Flights says the travelers have been enjoying the lucky streak last week, but that the luck has finally ran out thanks to the large part of Mother Nature.
Lucky streak came to an end on Sunday with some pretty severe storms hitting the Northeast. And as a result, you saw over 150 flights canceled, more than 5,000 flights delayed across the country.
FlightAware.com is reporting that over 24 cancellations compared to the thousands grounded on Sunday. Typically one of the busiest travel days of the year. Delays, however, they are topping over 400 so far. 400 so far. That's not a good travel day, I can tell you that already. Anyways, no winner for Friday night's Mega Million drawing. Tuesday's nice drawing will be for $305 million jackpot or $158.2 million cash payout. No winner for Saturday night's Powerball drawing. Tonight's drawing will be for $56 million or a $29 million cash payout, depending on how you want to play the game. So there you go, real quick in regards of that. Anyways, if you're looking real quick at some things that happened back on this date, let's take a look around and take a look at the year 1994. Serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer is killed while serving out his life sentence at the Columbia Correctional Institution in Wisconsin. He and another inmate were serving as janitors in the prison gym. Another prisoner attacked Dahmer with a broomstick handle, causing a severe head trauma. Dahmer died on the way to the hospital. That happened back in 1994. If you're looking at some birthdays for today, Adam Hicks turns 30, Joe Cole turns 34, Trey Songz turns 38, Mary Elizabeth Winstead turns 38, Summer Rae 39, Amy Garcia 44, Jon Stewart 60, Judd Nelson turns 63, Ed Harris turns 72 today, Randy Newman turns 79, and Barry Gordy turns 93. That's some birthdays that are going on today. If you're looking at a reason to celebrate, well, I can always find a reason to do that, because who doesn't want to do that? It's National French Toast Day, Cyber Monday, Red Planet Day, and that kind of rounds them up in regards of what is going on in regards of the reason to celebrate. So there you go. Some stuff to think about as we are talking. In some other stuff as we are hanging out, let's talk about some stuff that you might want to know, such as, do you need a random joke for today? Because I think that's important. I do all my own stunts, but never intentionally. Think about that. Who says that? Who says that kind of stuff? If you need a phone starter for today, try this. What was cool when you were young, but isn't cool now? I mean, I think there's a lot of things that we could probably talk about inside of that particular regards because of how old I am. If you need a question for the water cooler, try this. Question. In a survey, 11% of adults say that this is the worst Christmas gift they ever received. What is it? Decorations. That is the number one thing that people said that was the worst gift that they could receive. So there you go. Who would give decorations during your Christmas holiday? Hey, I got something for you. I mean, does that consider clothes? Because that's like body decoration if you kind of give it some thought that way. I'm just asking the question. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just saying how it goes. So there you go. A lot of stuff going on there. Anyways, at the top of the hour, I will be going over to Radio Big if you want to come and hang out and do the stuff that we do on that end of the equation. If you don't, I get it. I understand. But you can find us at radiobig.fm. You can find us on the Radio Big app, or you can find us on iHeartRadio or TuneIn Radio. That's the easiest way of doing that. Anyways, thank you for always being the best part of Safety FM and Radio Big, because without you, we could not do what we do around here. That is for sure. If I can leave you with a deep thought for today, I would love to leave you with this one. Today, give a stranger one of your smiles. It may be the only sunshine that they see all day. Think about that. How big or how things can actually reference in regards of just doing a smile. Anyways, I know who you are.
Duh.
You know who I am. Love ya, mean it, and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.